How did I get here? Oh crap, is it time to make another video? Man.
Train the muscles, not the joints.
Welcome back to Natural Gallant Bodybuilding, and today I'm going to talk to you about one of the most important principles in my natural bodybuilding journey. One of my most important techniques which caused muscle mass gains in my twin brother and myself, and we stumbled across this mostly by accident. But this is something that a lot of you are probably doing, and a lot of you also have probably experienced results using this technique unconsciously or consciously. So here it is. One of the things that is most important is not just constant tension. A lot of people talk about constant tension, which is great for pumps, and it is great to stimulate muscle mass and to stimulate those muscles into growth. But what I found is when you combine constant tension along with a stretch on the muscle belly, that's when you get the most results. Hence the incline curl for bicep curls for myself. That's where I find I get the most stretch in the biceps muscle belly, instead of just the stretch in the tendon insertion points. Now, where people mix this up or where they mess it up is that they say, oh, well, some stretch is good, more stretch must be better. Well, like I said, there's a point of diminishing return in stretch where you start to stretch the ligaments and tendons and mess with the joints instead of actually stretching the muscle belly. So what you want to bear in mind is that stretching the muscle belly is extremely important and having constant tension there, but you don't want to overstretch it, otherwise you'll just get a muscle tear or an injury. So this is why you see me bench press a certain way where I keep that tension on the muscle the whole time. I don't lock out on the top. It's not that locking out at the top or almost locking out at the top isn't challenging in a certain way, but what I find is that it's challenging on different muscle groups than the ones I want to hit, and at the same time it becomes counterproductive. So you're going to get more strategic as you apply some of these principles in your training. You're going to get more strategic about when is the right time to apply what principle, but definitely do not underestimate the stretch and constant tension combination principle, right? When you combine these two things, you really get a lot more results. Now, I find lately I've been doing a stretch when it comes down to skull crushers. Now, I'm all about doing different variations of isolation movements or compound movements, but at the same time, I do find that there are more effective ways to perform a movement for overall muscle mass. And one of those ways with the skull crusher is to bring those elbows back so that way the long head of the tricep is stretched, along with the fact that you can keep the tension on the muscle in the stretch position so you can experience that constant tension for long periods of time or throughout the whole duration of the set. And at the same time, you also avoid a lot of tendon issues in the elbow by doing the movement this way. So that's why I bring the elbows really far over the forehead and keep that tension on there along with maintaining the stretch. Now, there are a lot of different other movements where you can also apply the same principle. So you can think outside the box when it comes down to some of your other isolation movements and see where can you apply the constant tension principle along with the stretch. And I guarantee you, you will get the most results you've ever gotten in your life on those muscle groups. So when you apply this with the pump and stretch principle, that's when you combine an extra technique in there in order to get more results. So basically you do a contraction pumping type exercise so that way you get a muscle pump in the area. Hence my brother was doing leg presses to get those quads pumped up, and then he'd go to front squats after to really stretch those quads out, and then his quads totally ballooned up, right? I could never do front squats because they just killed my knees, but at the same time he did notice massive results doing that. So yeah, what you do is pump the muscle up. Then what you do is you do a constant tension stretch type of movement, and therefore you can really accelerate your gains in a certain muscle group by stretching out that muscle fascia, increasing the blood flow to the area, along with really tearing down a lot of those muscle fibers because you're combining tension along with stretch, but not too extreme a stretch where you're stretching out the tendons and ligaments and the joints and the labrums and that sort of thing. So yeah, this is like a win-win situation for you. And like I said, this is one of the most underrated principles out there, and it's one that most people that have a lot of results have applied. I hope this helps out in your training. Thanks a lot for watching. If you need to get a hold of me, just go to naturalgallantbodybuilding.com, and thanks to the patient supporters, and take care for now. Mountain. Mountain.
Gallant! Gallant! Gallant!